What is up, my party people? Welcome back to another video. We're talking about 11.2 PvP healers. Okay, so I'm myself, as well as I imagine a lot of other people, have been taking a little break from retail. Don't really know what's going on in this new patch. It was kind of like not really talked about too much, to be honest, and there was not any, or pretty much virtually any PvP changes, maybe a couple things here and there. So I want to fill y'all in with all of the healers and what's kind of going on, and maybe I'll give you a better idea what you would like to main or play in the next patch. All right, so we're gonna go over these changes as well as the tier sets. Reminder, the tier sets are nerfed in PvP, but they do matter because some of them are very important and some people are losing very good tier sets. So also you got to remember that as well. So if you do have a really good tier set now, and you're just straight up losing that one, is going to be a substantial nerf. Speaking of nerfs, because you're losing your tier set, we're going to start off with Wrestle Druid. So Wrestle Druid we got a couple changes here for the class itself. So Lucaria's Meditation replaced with Lucaria's Inspiration. This is a massive nerf. Just a massive nerf, because so previously no form was like 6% haste or something, and then bear form you got verse, cat form you got crit, moonkin form you got mastery. But the way you could utilize the moonkin form mastery and then the haste from no form was really powerful. So losing that is kind of a huge thing. I will say this, I went on the PTR and this was not working. It wasn't even in the game when I went on the PTR like yesterday, and like everything else is in there. So I don't know if they just like didn't do it, or maybe it's not a final decision. I don't know. But just note there, Maim is a 30-second cooldown up from 20. So this is a good change. I thought Maim was just sleeper OP, man. I play this shit in twos, and I'm just stunning, getting full stuns every 20 seconds, which is like even faster than the DR, essentially. So this is a good change. I think 30 seconds is fine. It should be on par with Kidney Shot. This is literally a better version of Kidney Shot if you were, playing offensive like I do. Okay, we're gonna skip over that, the Druid Claw, but Wild Stalker does apply to us. So this is with all the nerfs coming in, this is the one that is a buff. Okay, so Symbiotic Blooms and Bursting Growth increased by 30%. Symbiotic Blooms is quite high percentage of your healing, and it's gonna be even higher because of something we're going to talk about next here. So this is going to make Wild Stalker pretty much your go-to. I don't think you're going to ever play Keeper of the Grove because of the nerfs are so big from that losing that tier set. You need something to compensate, and Wild Stalker is getting a compensation, but Keeper is not. So I imagine you're not even going to play that anymore. Driving Growth's base chance of Symbiotic Bloom to grow is 30%. So just making Growths even stronger. Twin Sprouts generate chance to additional vines or blooms increase. So again, more bloom buffs. And then Vigorous Creepers causes Bloodseeker Vines to increase damage taken from you by 6%. So 1% damage increase taken from you, so you do a little more damage. But this one is the important one here. So Implant also triggers cast or Wild Growth. So currently if you Swiftman, you automatically apply Symbiotic Blooms, and this will now also apply to Wild Growth, which means you could do it to multiple people. So most likely you're going to end up playing, like in Shuffle and Threes at least, the instant Wild Growth talent, I imagine, and you're going to be able to have Symbiotic Blooms everywhere. So with all this, it may offset this losing the tier set. We'll see. My guess is going to be a little bit worse, but it won't be as bad as Keeper. I think Keeper of the Grove is just going to get kind of shit on with that, and kind of just going to get effed over about all that. So that's Wild Stalker. The rest of it specifically here, Trank buffed, just more like raid tuning. So basically your Trank is going to be stronger, which it's already really strong, to be honest. So this is like, yeah, don't sleep on Tranquility. It's a really good heal. Something you probably didn't notice, there are visual updates to all of these spells as well. They is kind of cooler. It just like makes the color animations like a little bit smoother, and then they added these little blue butterflies and stuff on the cast. So something to have that you might not thought you had there. Okay, so and then going over the tier set really quick. So Keeper of the Grove tier set, and get reminder, these are nerfed. So casting the two set here, casting Incarnation or Convoke the Spirits calls upon assistance of Dryad for 5 seconds that casts Tranquility at 50% effectiveness and instantly regrowths your lowest health ally at 200% effectiveness. So every time you cast Incarn or Convoke, you get a little dude that's going to help you. Interesting, because Convoke is a lot shorter cooldown than Tree of Life, so I don't know. Actually, I guess if you run the big tree, it's not. So it doesn't seem like with the nerfs to the percentages, this doesn't seem like it's going to be too crazy. And then the 4 set for Keeper. And also a reminder, these are hero talent specific set bonuses nowadays. So yeah, depending on your hero talent, you have different set bonuses, which is a little bit too much complexity in my opinion. But okay, when a Dryad fades, your next 2 Swiftmans will heal for an additional 5% of your healing. Additional 5 equal, or sorry, an amount equal to 5% of your healing done while it was active, and splash more healing. So just more healing, nothing really too complex. Wildstalker, so for balance, or so for resto, the rate at which blooms grow increased by 30%. Was this from that? This was when we were reading. Where's the other part here? Has a 20% chance to trigger a bursting growth every 2 seconds. So this is pretty big, because bursting growths you didn't really get at much. But this is gonna, and they also buff the actual amount from bursting growth. So getting that on top of that, getting more bursts, and then getting stronger bursts is just gonna make a big deal. I think, yeah, Wildstalker. Yeah, you know, more I read this, maybe Druid's gonna be fine as long as you're just playing Wildstalker. So, all right, so that is it for Resto Druid. We're gonna moving on to the next one here. We got Evoker. So Evoker here. So we have first Flame Shaper changes. So a lot of buffs to Flame Shaper. To be honest, doesn't even matter what these changes are. I really don't think Flame Shaper will be taken on. It just does not really work. It's kind of like Void Weaver to Oracle for Disc Priest. It's like the idea in PvE it's good, but it just doesn't work in PvP. Engulfs damage is healing increase, so it now requires a target to have Fire Breath or Druid Breath to be active to be used. Now scales by 20% with each damage or done, but it's 50. Oh, so that's actually a nerf to it. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know much about this, because you just don't play this in PvP. Triggers twice if the Evoker stacks 2 flames. This is nerfed. Okay, so these are actually a bunch of nerfs. What am I saying here? Okay, so these are a bunch of nerfs, but it's more probably towards the devastation side. All right, I'm just gonna skip on that, because I can't even give good insight on that. Scale Commander, we don't play. All right, they don't even have anything for Chrono. But we do have preservation specific changes. You have some new talents here. So preservation is getting some nice stuff here. So your empower spells are 10% more effective. While charging a healing empower spell, you cannot be knocked back. So interesting. Can't be knocked back specifically. And these are just regular talents. Your temporal compression increases the healing or damage of your next empower spell by 5% per stack. Just nice to have. Just in time now reduces time dilation's cooldown by 10 seconds and grants additional charge. So these two here, and then let me say delay harm has been redesigned. 15% of the damage taken from time dial damage over time is absorbed. So like they're saying here, preservation does not have access to an external damage reduction cooldown. So this is actually going to give you 2 charges too of a 15% damage reduction. So not only does it slow the damage, but it's also going to reduce that damage that you eventually take by 15%. So you get like 2 mini walls. So this is actually really huge for PvP specifically, because preservation just doesn't have that. And same with like Holy Priest, and it's been a big problem for a while. So that's the good part. Everything else is gonna be kind of nerfs, but all healing reduced. Emerald Blossom buff, we don't use that. Dream Breath nerfed. Dream Flight we don't use. Reversion now has 2 charges, didn't it always? Okay. Reduces cooldown by 120 seconds, so you can reduce the cooldown by 120 seconds instead of 60. Stasis power had made it required to take, which forces players into the bottom right capstone. By moving it further up in the tree, we reduce the opportunity cost of picking stasis. At the same time, we were offering an easy to play talent that competes with stasis, so you don't feel required. You're still gonna take stasis. PvP is like, you need that because you can use it while CC'd, and it's just super important to have. So temporal anomaly absorption increased by 330%. Wow, maybe people will actually play this. It's a cool idea. It's like when you shoot out a little orb and then just with things it hits, it heals. So that might actually be good. Fix an issue that prevented Lifebind from transferring. Okay, stasis is now a choice talent. Okay, and some talents are removed. All right, so that is it for Evoker. And also I need to add on with Evoker because there is PvP talents that are very important. Come on, where are you? Where are you? All right, Evoker. So Nullifying Shroud, this is humongous here. Big game changer. So Verdant Embrace, so you no longer have those 3 charges of just immunities to CC. Verdant Embrace reaches you with arcane energy, preventing the next loss of control effect against you. So every single time you press Verdant Embrace, you cannot be CC'd for 4 seconds. And the cooldown is rather short. Was it like 10 seconds or something like that? So pretty much like almost half the game, a quarter, or probably more realistically like a quarter of the game, you cannot be CC'd. So I don't know if this is the nerf or a buff. I personally, I think this is going to be even more frustrating to play into. They're talking about frustration to fight against. I think this is going to be more frustrating to fight against, because at least the other one was like, all right, you get your shroud done. You know, we CC 3 times into it and then it's gone. But now you have to deal with it all game long. So I think this was a very unthoughtful change, to be honest. And yeah, I don't like it. I think it's kind of bad, but it is what it is. I think these just complete CC immunity abilities are just not it, to be honest. So that is it for the Evoker changes. Let's go through the tier set. So again, I'm not even going to bother with Flame Shaper because I really don't think it's going to be even played, especially if it was nerfed. Chrono Warden will be played. Tip the Scales now reduces the cooldown by 60 seconds. So again, will be nerfed in PvP. I think it's like, yeah, whatever it is, reduced on it, which is really good. So Tip the Scales is so important because it gives you like a Bloodlust after you used it. It gives you the instant cast, whatever, Fire Breath usually. And then you get super crazy haste. All right, and then the 4-set, Temporal Burst causes Chrono Flames to strike 2 additional targets. Strike 2 additional target and repeat 15% damage or healing up to 15%, and increases the Essence ability damage. Increases Essence ability damage by 30%. Wow. That is like crazy damage though. If you add that all together, like just like in the offensive sense for Evoker, because this will increase your, I think this is just straight up a buff to disintegrate, right? And then your Chrono Flames is going to hit 2 more targets and replicate 15% more damage onto it, or healing. Wow. Okay. So that's a pretty good tier set. Again, even if that's nerfed, that is still good. Especially, I mean, 30%. Even if it was nerfed by 70% or 75%, it'd still be a 10% buff to disintegrate. So that's nice. All right, so Evoker, not bad. I think Evoker is going to be in a better spot than it was previously. Okay, moving over next to Monk. So Monk, we got the Vivacious Vivification has been redesigned. What was that? Vivacious. Oh, so you just randomly get, yeah, every 10 seconds your Vivify becomes instant and is buffed. Ooh, that was like a pretty important part of it. Your next Vivify is instant cast after casting Rising Sun Kick. Ooh. That kind of makes it worse, because then it's kind of forcing you to press Rising Sun Kick, but sometimes you just can't press Rising Sun Kick because you can't push in. So interesting change to that. That is probably a little bit of a nerf. Okay, these are all Brewmaster, Mistweaver. So we have Revival, healing increased by 100%, but now it's reduced. Okay, so but these are in PvP. These just end up being straight up buffs because we don't have to deal with 5 targets. Shadowloon's Gift buffed, so that's really good. Shadowloon Gift is really strong. Direct healing increased by 80%, but no longer is increase in PvP. Okay, so it's just, they're just making it the same in PvP as it is in PvE. Chi Harmony now increases healing taken by 25%, so that's a little nerf there, and then something not applied to PvP. So just really, you're getting the Restore, Revival, and Shadowloon's buff on there. And I believe there was nothing else on the bottom. I was just down there. Not Brewmaster. Okay. Alright, so Monk, not too much. That Vivacious thing is probably a slight nerf, I imagine, but you do get some extra Restoral and Revival healing, which is good because it hasn't felt like too crazy in terms of the healing. It's more just like for the immunity and the Dispel action. And then we got the tier set. So, kind of such people do kind of play both, so I'll talk about both here. So for Mistweaver, Heart of the Jade Serpent additionally triggers for 8 seconds at 100% effectiveness. Don't know what that is. Heart of the Jade Serpent. Heart of the Jade. So Shadowlands calls upon Yulon, decreasing the cooldown of Renewing Mist, Rising Sun Kick, Light. Okay, so it's just like based on the clouds of mist consumed. Oh, so it's like something that buffs, something related to Shadowlands Gift that reduces cooldown of things. Okay. So it additionally triggers for 8 seconds effectiveness after you cast Thunder Focus Tea. So when you cast Thunder Focus Tea, you're getting this passive, which is a pretty crazy cooldown reduction. Alright, cool. And the 4-set, Heart of Jade Serpent increases your haste for 10 seconds. Okay, so that won't really be relevant in PvP. It's like this one, the 4-set seems way better than the 2-set. Sorry, the 2-set seems way better than the 4-set. But with the nerf, this is probably going to feel like nothing. Okay, Master of Harmony. So this, again, people do play this one as well. So Midsweeper, gaining vitality has an increased chance to cause your next Tiger Palm to unleash a harmonic surge. So it does damage or healing. And then casting Thunder Focus T guarantees that your next 2 casted Tiger Palms will trigger a harmonic surge. All right, so just passes basically. Okie doke. All right, so that's it for Monk. So Monk is looking probably very, very similar to it currently feels. I don't think it's going to be feeling anything too crazy. All right, let's move on to the next. So we got Holy Paladin. So this one is one I'm thinking is going to be very good personally. So we're talking about Holy. We got External Flame buff by 15%, which is pretty massive. Your biggest heal when you are playing Herald. Sun's Avatar reduce. It's not too crazy of healing. Sun's Avatar in PvE, it was more a lot more healing for Sun's Avatar in PvE. Dawnlight now radiates 5%, so a little bit nerf on there. Second Sunrise now has a 100% chance to activate. It was 15, but no longer grants Holy Power from Holy Shot cast. So what is this? Second Sunrise. Light of Dawn. Oh, it's Light of Dawn based. Okay, we don't play Light of Dawn stuff, so don't worry about that. Okay, so nothing to Lightsmith. Oh wait, Sacred Weapon will now prioritize other healers when cast. Okay, so irrelevant here. So nothing really to Lightsmith, but slight buff to whole Herald. Well, actually, pretty big buff. 15% is a lot. Okay, but this is where things get a little interesting here. So Pillars of Light, this is just a beacon. So on your beacon, your targets get healed. It's not a lot. It just gives you like a passive hot basically on your beacon targets. It's not going to be very much at all. Holy Shock and healing increased by 30% baseline. And some stuff that's not applied to PvP. Beacon of Light now only transfers healing from direct healing of Light of Dawn. So just something related to Light of Dawn. Again, don't use Light of Dawn in PvP. These are the big ones here. Okay, so Infusion of Light has been the core of Holy Paladin for literally like TBC. Because when you crit, you got these cool effects. And then consequently, you would always spec or gear with having crit in mind. But now, you don't need that anymore. Reduces the... So Infusion of Light now reduces the cast time... wait, hold on. Where is the one that talks about where it's not crit based? Okay, here. Yeah, I'm sorry. Now it reduces the cast time of Holy Light by 30% and makes your Flash of Light instant. Now based on a chance casting Holy Shock, I think it's 10% chance, activates from Holy Shock crits. So you no longer need crit. When I was messing around with this on the PTR, this procs a lot still. Okay, especially when you're using I don't know what the name of the talent is, but when you press Wings or Divine Toll and you get like the triple Holy Shocks, they're proccing almost every time I did a triple Holy Shock. So every time you do that, you're getting an instant cast Flash of Light, and that instant cast Flash of Light is now buffed a lot. So it's, instead of being 30% buff from Infusion, it's 150% buff. Still might be better in cases to use Holy Light. It might be like a raw number wise, it might be more to heal that, but in the chaos of the fight, you're probably always going to cast Flash of Light, and you virtually never have to cast now. So I don't know if I feel like that. I don't really like that, but it is going to make them strong. Okay, so and also Inflorescence now buffs Flash of Light even more, so it makes Flash of Light really, really important to use. You pretty much never really used Flash of Light previously, and now you're going to be spamming it all the time. Probably going to be swapping out the use of it. I'll probably switch my binds personally from these two. Okay, Beacon of Virtue, we don't really use that, and they did move some of the talents around. I messed around with them. I do like where they moved the talents. Makes it easier to get Relentless Inquisitor, which is just a passive 5% haste buff, essentially. So it's really nice to be able to get this, and Truth Prevail they moved as well. Also easy to get the Tears Deliverance second ability, the one that extends it. All right, so that's it for Holy Paladin in terms of that. And then the set bonuses, we have for Herald, you're getting just a buff to Dawnlight damage and healing, and then you gain. Okay, so after Dawn of Light, you gain. Wait, so Dawnlight's healing and damage increase 30%, and you gain Solar Wrath after Wings fades, causing your Sun's Avatar effect to linger. So again, just passive stuff you don't really have to think about, to be honest, and it's just gonna be a passive damage and healing buff from the Dawnlights, because Dawnlight can do a lot of healing and damage during that as Wings goes. Okay, also the Solar Wrath increases the effectiveness of your Holy Power spenders by 30%. So this is the one part is kind of interesting to take into consideration, especially myself playing offensive and using denounces. So I'll probably have to track this Solar Wrath thing and want to be squeezing out denounces. It is a little awkward though, because it's after your Wings that you're getting this buff. So kind of a little awkward that you don't really have it during it, but is what it is. So this is just passive buffs again. Those are not bad. Lightsmith, you get Holy Hammer and Anvils. Healing is increased to 50%, and it can also activate by Crusader Strike. I'd say, okay, that's not bad. So that is just passive healing off of Judgment crits and Crusader Strike crits. But at that point, you don't really run crit anymore. So maybe Lightsmith gonna be kind of fade. Hammer Anvil also grants a stack of Master, causing your next Holy Armor to cast a lesser version of itself on a nearby ally. I don't really know about that. So not much for Lightsmith, but I think Holy Paladin with that instant cast stuff is going to be pretty crazy. I think Herald is going to be, my guess is going to be the meta healer so far, if you want my input on that. Okay, going over to the next one here, we got Priest. So we have Oracle, nothing in PvP here. Voidweaver, increasing Rift damage with 30%. They just keep buffing and nerfing this thing like crazy. Once again, just quickly, Voidweaver is just never going to be viable because they just don't address the main problem, that why it's not viable in Solo Shuffle and other things is because it has to cast all the time, and like they're making other casters not have, or other healers not have to cast as much, but they not fixing the core problem, because if you can't cast, you can't heal, and people know that when you play Voidweaver, you just train the guy down and there's nothing you can do and you lose. So anyway, going over to actual, I did not really understand this, so we're doing some targeted adjustments to Disciplin's direct healing, and so that their mana gradually reduces over time is if they're spending a lot of time applying Atonement. We would like Discipline to be able to regenerate mana slowly through damaging spells. This helps balance them through other healers who spend more mana than they do. So essentially, in PvP at least, this is going to be a nerf. Your mana cost is going to go up. The whole point of this was more in PvE because you were able to spam damage all the time, and while they're spamming damage, which costs no mana, they are regenerating mana. So they're basically nerfing your mana, and in PvP, you are not able to sit there and cast damage all the time. So this is going to be a pretty gnarly nerf to disc mana. So that is a concern for disc viability for sure. One nice thing you do get is Ultimate Penance being 35% buff. That's pretty large. It's going to really pump in damage. Okay, and again, just more mana stuff as well. So big mana nerfs to Disc Priest. Holy Priest, on the other hand, is getting the inverse. Holy Priest, so you're getting Divine Hymn buffs just like Tranquility was. Holy Fire, Holy Nova, and every single spell reduced mana cost for. So you're just getting no, there's no changes specifically. It's just going to be a bunch of mana cost reduction. So Disc Priest getting substantial nerfs to mana. Holy Priest getting substantial buffs to mana. And that is it for Priest. Jeez, like a whole patch, man. They got like, that's it. All right, and then we're going to, so I'll cover both of these just because we kind of covered all the priest stuff. So Archon, which is going to be more for Holy Priest. Halo reduces the cooldown of your Serenity and Sanctify by 5 seconds and increases the healing a little bit. This is going to be pretty negligible when you add the PvP nerf to it. Okay, and then Serenity and Sanctify add another Halo effect at 100% effectiveness up to 2 times. Okay, that's pretty good. So while Power Surge is active. I don't know what Power Surge is. Okay, so it's just when you cast Halo, so you just get more Halos. Can't be bad, right? Especially if it's 100% effectiveness. And we're going down to Oracle. So Oracles will probably a lot of both specs play. Prayer Mending heals your target for X amount. Okay. Oh, sorry, no. First Bolt of Penance casted damage or healing 200% more. Wow, that's really a lot. And then also casting Prayer Mending heals the target for a little bit more. Casting Premonition of Solace or Piety grants you 2 stacks of Insight at 100% effectiveness. That's just confusing, man. I mean, the haste buff is kind of negligible, but you are getting stacks of Insight, which I believe is the cooldown reduction one. But that's just confusing, man. Like, Premonition was already confusing enough. You need all these freaking trackers for it, and now you're going to add even more complexity to it because when you press the other two, you're always getting Insight. Okay, I don't like that, but it won't be bad performance-wise. I think it's just not a good design decision. Okay, Voidweaver, again, probably won't be viable overall, but these are kind of nice to experiment with. I definitely will be trying them out. So Void Blast and Penance increase damage and reduce the cast time of Void Blast. I did try this out with the Trinity talent for Disc, and it kind of overlaps, and I feel like it wasn't even working because it's too much cast time reduction, because it really can't even go any faster. Because it already reduces it to like 0.8, and then on top of that, even more. So yeah, well, that's cool thing about this is you probably don't need to run Trinity at that point. Okay, okay, yeah, that's it for that, for Disc. And Disc, for 4 set, your Rift also Void Blast also makes your Rift grow. That's nice, because previously it was only Penance. Collapsing Void increases the Rift's damage by just 10%, and the damage of your next Mind Blast increased by up to 300%. That's not a big deal. Mind Blast does like nothing, but it is nice to get your Rift to grow via Void Blast. So that's going to be a nice buff to have, because again, whenever you're seeing these tier sets that are nerfed in PvP, what you want are effects that aren't, because the effects can't be nerfed. The numbers can be nerfed. So this is an effect, being able to grow it. So that's a really nice tier set to be having there. All right, so that's it for Priest. So we got one more left here. We got the Restoration Shaman, and not much to really talk about here, but one big one that I'm excited for, at least, is Farseer. So you're getting a little bit of damage buff here. So chain lightning damage, which we don't really use in PvP, but 40% from your ancestors. But this is the big one that I'm looking forward to messing around with. It's not that big of a deal for most people, for pretty much everybody else, but it's a straight up 15% nerf buff to Lava Burst when you are playing Farseer, and you combine that with some of this other ancestor damage buffs you're going to be seeing. So it's kind of nice, So when it comes to actual class, just healing Tide Totem buff like they did with all the AoE abilities, and yeah, that's it, dude. I can't believe, like, I feel like these are so lackluster, man. They just like did not put effort into this patch, man. I don't know. Anyway, tier set. Let's finish off here. So Farseer, I messed around with these. These are kind of nice for in terms of my outlook on damage, but also you get some healing buffs too. So Ancestral Swiftness summons an additional empowered, or summons an empowered ancestor instead of your regular one that deals 10% more damage and healing. It goes down to like 8% or 3%. I don't know what it was. So just straight up healing and damage buff, and then Ancestral Swiftness increases all of your damage and healing by 25%. Again, nerfed. Reduces the mana cost of spells, okay, and increases the recharge rate of Riptide and Lava Burst by 50% for 8 seconds. So you're going to be getting more Riptides and more Lava Bursts. So this is I think this is going to be really fun to play. This is like the one tier set I'm actually interested in, because it does actually give you like some interesting gameplay behind it. So when you do pop it, you're getting some like increased rate, and you're doing more damage and healing. So you really want to push everything into those windows, which is pretty cool. I like that. And the other one is Totemic. Let's see, Totemic has just been so awkward because they kept keeping stuff around Healing Rain. Well, let's see if they change that. So after you consume the Whirling Element Motes, so it's just one of the whirling elements of elements on Totemic when you put down the totem, you cast Downpour at 200% effectiveness at your Surging Totem's location. I don't like that. If you consume all your Surging, cast Primal Storm. Okay, that's not us. After casting Downpour, your next chain heal, okay, again, just stupid when you're considering PvP, man, because nobody uses Downpour in PvP. They just keep doing this stuff, man. So it's, again, Healing Rain based. So a burst of healing at your Healing Rain's location. But I guess this is coupled with Totemic. Maybe this is not that big of a deal, because when you cast the Surging Totem, it's the same thing as Healing Rain. So it just gives you like a heal. Like every time you press your Surging Totem, it's just going to give you a passive heal. So it's just going to make your totem heal a little bit more. There's really nothing interesting about this at all. It's just passive once again. All right. Well, it is what it is. So that is it for all of the healer changes going into 11.2. Just a quick recap here. It looks like Holy Paladin. Let me scroll back in order here. So Shaman getting virtually nothing. Farseer is getting a nice damage buff. And okay, yeah, that's really it for Arsham. Priest, Holy Priest getting mana buffs, like better mana. Disc Priest gonna be worse mana. Holy Paladin getting some a little bit of healing increase, but more importantly, getting instant class Flash of Lights, which is going to change their gameplay quite drastically. Oh, they are getting 50% on Eternal Flame. So HPAL is the only healer really getting big buffs. Mistweaver, just very subtle changes. And then we had Evoker. Okay, Evoker is good because of the cooldown reduction. So let me recap that all together. Holy Paladin's getting better. Evoker's getting slightly better. Our Druids about the same, maybe slightly worse. Arsham gonna be about the same, which they already sucked, which kind of sucks. Disc Priest gonna be worse because of mana. Holy Priest gonna be slightly better because of mana. All right, Mistweaver virtually unchanged as well. So that is it for a little 11.2 recap. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys are gonna play and what you're interested in watching me play on the next patch that comes out today. So have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Peace.